So we're going to do some ranged loadout today, and we're going to start off with our skill points. So in our first one, we are going to be weapons, and our first point is going to be spent there. Only 1 point, you don't need nothing more. Any weapon, it doesn't have to be my weapon. On skimming or flight or whatever you are, I only choose the very first one. Now, most of the time in Rage, you would see me buying these, but that's for melee. You really don't need all the resistances and breakout that's going to help you, because you're not going to be using this very much. You know, you could use these points for your health or your might in most cases. Then again, you could also use it for the next one, which is iconic powers. And you need 3 iconic powers. So you need heat vision, freezing breath, and robot sidekick. Now there is a trick to this loadout, so we'll go over all those in a minute. Right now we have super powered. You always want to get these. Get these first, and then put all your rest into might and power. If you have any left over, I would go with health for the extra survivability. Okay, this is the current loadout that we're going to be using for range with rage. So your amplified heat vision first, freezing breath second, dreadful blast third, forensic bombardment fourth, robot sidekick, and berserk. And it don't matter which place you have these in. I see a lot of people doing it this way, but personally, sometimes I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'll hit number 5, and I'll accidentally use my SC. So I like keeping it on number 6, because if you just hit 5, he's not going to go away. You have to actually hold 5 for the robot to go away. So that's why my loadout looks like this. Alright, now before we actually get into the damaging part, I want to also add in that the artifacts used for this are pretty much needed. The middle one, which is your scrap of soul cloak, will be for your supercharge for your berserk damage. Now, you don't absolutely have to have this one, but I do recommend it, as it gives you, 3% might, 5% power, and it, like I said, it'll help with your supercharge regain, because you will be using berserk in here. Now, you could be using the Eye of Gemini, but I honestly think that you're going to be getting more with the soul cloak being able to run your berserker damage than what you are with the Eye of Gemini. And also, you're going to be at a distance. People see that nowadays, and they run away. They understand what it is. They know it's going to give you damage, so they run away from it. And at rage, on range, it's not going to be too great. But whenever you're up close, you can seep off of the tank, other rage, or other melee, which right now I think is really only rage. So I would go with Soul Cloak. Now, your solar amplifier is really going to make a big difference in this. Hopefully you have the solar amplifier, because the 5% might, it's used for most of your damaging powers. Pretty much all the damaging powers use solar amplifier, even if they don't have heat vision in their loadout. Now this is going to give you more damage with the heat vision, so the higher you have it, the better it's going to be. Now, on this one here, this one is very important, and you must have this artifact for this loadout to work properly. And the reason why is because of your penetrating gaze. Now, penetrating gaze is going to plasma burn the enemies, which is on the list for rage. It's plasma burned. Now I'm going to show you the reason why you don't need something like galling eruption or any of those that cause plasma burn. 2 hits with your weapons or any of your powers, he's going to come out. This plasma burn starts on all the enemies with that little laser he lets out. As soon as it's done, he lasers them again. He basically never goes away as long as you're in combat. Every time it goes away, he lasers them back on. So that is why that is a needed artifact for this loadout. So that way your Dreadful Blast and your Bombardment is going to be hitting at its full potential. Now let's get into the loadout just a little bit more. So the trick to this loadout is all going to be in your second skill. Okay, before we even do this, let's come out here so we can get a little bit accurate on this. Okay. And watch my power bar up top here, right below my health, the blue bar. And you'll see it'll move every time, every about 2 seconds. So 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. So it's every second, okay? Now watch whenever I hit an enemy with it. Each time my power will go down, it'll send a damage tick on the sparring target. And you see, it was hitting pretty decent, you know, nearly 20k twice, 2 crits right there. So now the best way I found to do this is let it tick twice. That would be 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. That's kind of the way I've learned to do it. Now with your laser, you want to let that go all the way through with your laser, because you want that damage at the last, the burst of damage, which damage all the enemies, because it won't do that from the get-go. So here we go, we'll kind of see what this is like. The explosion. And then it burns the enemies for all that extra added damage while you do the rest of the loadout. Now that they will burn for more than 1 rotation, but it doesn't matter anyways, because by the time you get done with your rotation, you'll be burning them again. So on this now, we're going to go ahead and run the full loadout, and I'm going to let you check out the numbers. So I would just like to mention that 350k on any damage power, you're doing decent damage. You know, you're doing okay damage, enough to where you're almost on par with all the other damage abilities. Now there is others, you know, like munitions, which is basically all nothing to do with anything but range, and you know, it's going to hit in its upper 400ks or close to it. So you know, you have to remember it's around 350 to 400k if you want to be a really good ranged DPS. So let's see what we can get with this one here. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. See, I already messed up. Okay, so we're gonna restart this. I already messed up. Alright, here we go. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. One Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. So you can see down there at the bottom, you know, I was hitting pretty good. You know, I am still new to Rage. This is only the 2nd day, but I've learned most of the combos that are going to be used in all the loadouts. So I'm kind of learning them still, but I do have them down pretty good. And you know, like I said, this loadout does have that trick to it. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Then you jump out of it. Whenever you're in the air, hit that. When you're in the air, use your 3rd power, Dreadful Blast. So it's going to look like this. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Before you even hit the ground, you're going to pull that out on out. You're going to go ahead and use it. Now we're going to go through this with Berserk. Okay, now we're going to try to do this flawlessly with Berserk. Let me put it that way, because it may not be. So here we go. now I wanted just to show you the numbers on there so you can see why I'm going to say what I'm fixing to say. So my highest hit was the 326k, and that was with the berserk damage. You know, you kind of wonder why is it so low. Alright, so the reason why your berserk's not hitting so much is because the time it takes to use the amplified heat vision and the freezing breath. So whenever you come off of those, you go into your dreadful blast and you're from your frenetic bombardment. So this is how I've started to do with my my using berserk on this here, because for some reason none of the supercharges really seem to be doing a whole lot with ranged DPS with this power. So you have this one here, which is it'll increase your critical attack chance and damage. So it's between Infuriate and Berserker. Berserk, it's really hard to say which one is better for overall ranged, because with your Berserk, it is getting that extra damage with that second tick. But you'll see what I mean here. We're gonna run this again, and now I'm gonna show you the way that I've been running it with this here. So this is what it looks like. 1, 2, and then your Berserk. Well, I messed up, but you get what I'm saying. Before you use your Berserk, you want to hit number 1, and then you want to do number 2. Let it go for 2 seconds. Hop out, use Berserk, and then you want to go into your rage skills down at the bottom. So that's the best way that I have found to do it. Now, like I said again, you can use Berserk or you can use Infuriate. Both of them is really doing about the exact amount of damage. Actually, a few times I hit harder with Infuriate than I did with Berserk. So it's whatever, really, whichever you decide. So Infuriate or Berserk, whichever you decide. Yeah, this is the DPS Ranged Loadout for Rage that I prefer right now. Amplified Heat Vision, Freezing Breath, Dreadful Blast, Frenetic Bombardment, Robot Sidekick, Berserk, or Infuriate, whichever you prefer. So hopefully you enjoy the ranged loadout. I know that it's not as fun as the melee, but it will keep you out of trouble, and as the numbers have shown, it does do pretty decent damage. It gets close to 400k damage a lot of the times, and whenever you're actually running it like versus actual enemies, you will hit 400k. It just depends on how many enemies are within the group. So hopefully you enjoyed, and I'm not sure what the next video is going to be, so just keep an eye out.